I'll share the results. We can see what people think.
Okay.
Perfect. So I'll just share the results so you can see what people thought.
Yeah, 51% said the correct answer, which is 8.98 over 8 million people stay in London.
Yeah.
That's correct. Do you want to put the next question on?
Of course.
Sure. Yes, 65% said all well. Yep, that's correct answer. Perfect. Okay. Mark, would you like to share your journey?
Yeah, I mean, when you say share my journey, are you talking about from joining as a police officer?
What motivated you to become a police officer? And what do you like most about your job? And how is your day-to-day job?
Yeah, I mean, what sort of prompted me to become a police officer was, I mean, I grew up in the 60s and 70s, and we all know about various issues with police, with ethnic minorities and what have you. And a lot of my friends, and to a certain degree families, were a little bit negative towards police. The reason I joined was I just thought it was better to be part of it rather than from the outside complaining all the time, you know. And I used to see things like everybody else. I thought, well, actually, that's not right. I think I could do a better job than that. And that was one of the things that motivated me to join. And also, my mum had a burglary, which really motivated me because, like a lot of things these days, it's very hard to catch people for things like burglary and car theft. So those are the sort of things why I joined, because I felt, you know, I know it sounds a bit cliche, that actually I could make a difference. So I joined, and a few years later after I joined, one of my brothers joined as well. So, you know, I've been here a police officer now since 2003, just about to start my 19th year. And I wouldn't do any other job. I love being a police officer, always have done, and I'm sure I always will till I retire. I mean, I've always been in the Met. I've never worked for any other police service across the country. You know, I started here in Islington as a PC. I'm now currently based in the borough of Barnet, where I'm a uniform sergeant. Currently, I look after an area. I'm what we call a safe and neighbourhood sergeant. So I have various areas where I have officers that I'm responsible for. I don't know what else do people want to know?
Sorry. So how is your day-to-day job? What are your challenges in the job?
Oh, crikey. Endless. From things like, what can we do about the amount of drug dealing, drug use on an estate, to something as, how can I put it, as, I'm going to use the word minor. Minor is probably not the correct term, as a neighbour dispute arguing about a boundary of offence that's getting out of hand. So, I mean, my day-to-day is challenging because not only do I have to answer to my bosses, because my role is in the community, I regularly have to answer to people in the community, like local councillors, MPs. We have quite a few sort of forums for local residents to have meetings with us. So it's very challenging because for a number of years, we've been quite low on resources. In recent times, we've started to recruit more police officers, which obviously as they come on board will hopefully make things a lot better. But it is challenging. I regularly go home with a headache, but at the end of the day, it's a job I want to do. So be it, you know. I'm not complaining about it. It is what it is. And, you know, like I say to my officers, each day we come to work, we do the best that we possibly can with what we've got.
Yeah, that's correct. Every day is a new day and every day is a new challenge.
Absolutely. And the challenges come thick and fast. You know, 1 minute I'm with some of my officers on our estate. Next thing, there's something in centre of London which requires officers from across London to be at. It could be a high scale sort of demonstration, like the sort of things that we've had in recent months, where you've had, I don't know, people who are against the pandemic, Black Lives Matters, loads of things, you know, which are very challenging. Notting Hill Carnival, another one. Great fun day out for masses of people, but very challenging for police officers to police. So it is varied. There's no two ways about it. It is varied.
Yeah, but that's the beauty of the job, isn't it? That is not a typical 9 to 5 job where you go and sit on your desk and do stuff and come back. This is every day you meet new people every day.
However, I can't lie to you. There is a certain element that is, how can I put it, office desk orientated, because it's like the further you go up the scale, it's like the more administration you have to do. So I'm not out and about as much as my constables are, purely and simple for the amount of admin that I have to do. And there's no two ways about it, because there's nobody else to do it, and it's my responsibility to get it done. So, you know, I suppose that's the beauty of being a constable, where literally you've only really got to worry about yourself and being out and about each day. Like I said, the further you go up the scale, the less you're out and about, and the more you're sort of shackled to a desk doing administration, because the reality is admin comes with a job. You know, everything we do now is scrutinized. Everything we do now is recorded, whether it's recorded for evidence, as in written statements, or whether it's on body-worn video. So there is a lot of writing, a lot of justification for our actions. So, like I say, it just means that there is a lot more admin than perhaps there was 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah. I agree with you, Mr. Okay, I have a question from one of the students. Do you know anything about joining SAS?
No, no. Joining the SAS, I mean, no, I don't know anything about it, but I mean, we have quite a few ex sort of military and soldiers and what have you who become police officers, and I would imagine in order to join the SAS, you're going to have to be a soldier to start with, working in whatever division, and then you would then apply to the SAS, because it's like a specialist role within the military services. It's kind of similar to, like, for example, if you want to become, I don't know, a specialist firearms officer in the police, you would have to join as a police officer, and then after a certain amount of years of experience and so on, you would then apply to get into that unit, because it's part of the police, and the SAS is part of the military. But you would have to go through some of the sort of like the normal basic training to start with before you could join. I don't think there's a situation where you could just come from being a civilian and then just put an application in to join the SAS. But I'm not an expert on it, and it would be a case I'll speak to some military people who could direct you better. Or I'm sure the military will have a website where you can find Q&As to give you exactly what you would need to do. but I'm pretty sure, because a lot of people in sort of specialist units like that do come from other units to start with, whether it be, I don't know, the paras or whatever. So I can't help you on that, I'm afraid.
Okay, the other question is, somebody wants to do a criminology. What is your advice to them?
They want to do, sorry?
Wants to study a criminology.
Oh,
And,
right, okay. Basically, that's just down to universities. I mean, over the years, I've come across several students who have studied criminal degrees and what have you. And it's a case of they just went to university. They found a university that had the course that they wanted and obviously applied there. The way you can join the Met have changed in recent years and opened up different avenues for graduates. There's a way you can join now where it's like you're doing a university degree for the first couple of years. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know which universities do that kind of stuff, but I'm pretty sure it'd be a case of just checking out universities, what courses they have. And I'm sure you'll find universities across the country really that would have degrees on criminal law and what have you. But the Met doesn't do that per se itself. A lot of the stuff we do now is kind of outsourced, whereas before we had a massive training department, and you know, new officers, for example, would do a residential period of about 18 weeks training, studying all sorts of things, crime, politics and procedures, and so on. But that doesn't really happen now because training's, a lot of it's outsourced to private companies. Universities, there are some universities that do some police courses on behalf of the police as well. So I think the best place would be to probably online, just put in what universities offer that kind of degree.
any other questions students have? Do you, I would take that question. Do you need a degree to become a police officer? Yes and no.
No, you don't. If you've got a degree, you've got various options of joining. I mean, it always used to be if you had a degree, you wouldn't be required to do the entrance exam, because if you had a degree, you was a graduate, so that was sufficient for the entrance exam. It's still the case with that, but you can also do a degree in policing, which is a 2-year degree, which you do via the police force that you join. And it's a national qualification. So it doesn't matter whether you join the Met Police or Hertfordshire Police, it's across the country. But you don't need a degree to join.
Yeah. Do you get scared? One of the attendees is asking you this question. Do you get scared?
To be honest, I think I'd be very surprised if any officer could say there wasn't a moment in their career where things got a bit hairy, that they was a bit scared. Because sometimes things do get quite lively. And it's a case of, you know, you sort of refer back to your training. And that normally keeps you in good stead, because that's what you need to do. But yeah, everyone at some point, hand on heart, would have to admit that whatever situation they was in, whether it was because they was on their own and there are people that they had to tackle with weapons, or whether it was in a massive demonstration situation where it was going very crazy. I can think of a couple of moments where my heart was racing, to say the least. You know, definitely so. Seeing people with knives standing in front of you is always a hairy moment. But like I say, you just, you know, just refer to your training and you deal with things, you know, as professionally as you can and as quick and as safe as you can. Because at the end of the day, nobody comes to work to go to hospital, do they? So yeah, there will definitely be times when, yeah, your heart will be racing and you'll be thinking, wow, I'm not very comfortable in this situation. You know, it's kind of a bit scary. But you know, it's part of the job, and you just get on with what you've got to do.
Yeah. Another question is, are there any safety features around London that many people do not know, but the police want people to know?
When you say safety features, can you sort of narrow that down? What do you mean by safety features?
Uh, it's like things that would protect people from terror attack and so on and so forth.
All right, okay. I mean, if it's things like personal safety we're talking about, I mean, we all can do things to be as safe as we can when we're out and about. You know, I mean, I've spoken to quite a few sort of women's sort of forums over the years, and they've asked things like, you know, how can women feel safe when they're going about their business at night? And, you know, you give them sort of like, you know, sensible things that they can do. You know, if they're out and about late at night, try and walk home with someone. If you've got to walk home, stay to sort of well-lit areas as opposed to cutting through dark parts and so on. Personal possessions, don't walk around with your phone to your ear so you're not aware of your circumstances. That's an easy way for someone to run up from behind you and snatch your phone out your hand. You know, when you're talking about incidents happening in London, I mean, we always say to people, if you see something that you're not happy about, ring the police. Don't you be the judge of it, whether it's suspicious or not. Ring the police and we'll judge whether it's suspicious, rather than you see something that you thought, you know what, that didn't look right. And then on the news tomorrow, you hear that there's been some sort of terror attack in the city. So we always say to people, if you see something that you're just not comfortable with, ring us, tell us, and we'll decide what we need to do with it, rather than you ignoring it. Because often you'll find when stuff happens, people always say, I did see something, but I didn't want to trouble the police. And sometimes if that phone call comes into us, that could be the difference between us sort of like stopping something happening and saving potentially someone's life. So there's nothing per se with regards to stuff like that. People need to be aware of their own personal safety. You know, we don't have as many, how can I put it, things like muggings and stuff here as perhaps we once did. But I think over time, people start getting a bit more savvy about their safety. I've worked in areas where iPhones were regularly stolen. And I always just say to people, do not walk about with your phone to your ear. If you need to make a phone call or someone rings you, stop. Ideally, stop against a building line with your back to it so you can see what's going on around you. And that would stop the vast majority of people running up to you and snatching your phone out of your hand. So we can all do stuff to improve our personal safety. And a lot of it's common sense. It's the sort of stuff that I tell my daughters. I've got teenage daughters when they're out and about to do, to be honest. And it's no different for anybody when they're in London. When I'm in London or any sort of city and I'm walking about, you know, I'm aware of my circumstances. I'm aware of what's around me because I just think it's just sensible. So I would always advise people, just make sure you know what's around you. You know, don't get lost in the moment where you're chatting to friends and you don't know what's around you, and people can look at you and you don't want to make yourself a target, that sort of thing. You know, like guys, you know, if you've got your wallet in your back pocket and you've got a loose pair of jeans on, is that ideal? I would suggest perhaps putting it on an inside pocket or in a pocket in the front of your jeans, where it's a lot harder for someone to take from you without you noticing. So, you know, there's loads of bits and pieces that we can all do, which most of it is common sense, to be honest. But, you know, I would always advise people, if you've got any issues or you want to know more about stuff like that, you know, if you're in London especially, contact your local safe and neighbourhood team. You know, you've only got to put your details into the Met website with your address and they'll tell you what your local safe and neighbourhood team is, that you can contact them directly, and they're a team of officers who are local to your area. I didn't mute myself there, did I?
No, you did not mute. I have another question. How do you become a part of MI6?
once again, I know not too much about stuff like that, because obviously MI6, like the SA, is totally independent to the police. It's not part of the police or anything like that. But I can remember a few years ago, they actually were advertising for people, and it was an online type scenario where you went online and you done some sort of assessment, and then from that assessment, I would imagine people then got contacted if they was of interest to the MI6. But you would have to contact MI6 directly to find out exactly what the situation is with regards to any potentially joining their services. It's not something that we in the police would get involved in, because it's a totally separate entity to the police. So sorry, I can't help you too much on that one.
Okay. Any further questions, students? I think, Mark, I think, yeah. Say to people to learn. What do you say to people to learn self-defense?
I mean, yeah. I mean, if, for example, by you learning some self-defense, it gives you more confidence when you're out in the street, well, clearly that's a good thing. Because, you know, we all sometimes get a bit wrapped up with all the negativity about major cities, because we've got news on 24/7, haven't we? And most of the news repeats itself on a loop, doesn't it? So if I watch the, I don't know, the news in the morning, and then I get home at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock at night, I put the news on, and it's virtually the same news repeating itself. And I think sometimes that makes things out to be a lot more worse than what they really are. So anything, whether it be self-defense lessons, whatever, gives people a bit more confidence in themselves for when they're out and about, I would wholly support. Because at the end of the day, we shouldn't be sort of looking ourselves away and be frightened to be out and about. So I say, yeah, absolutely. If it gives you a bit more confidence to be out, that's fine. But ultimately, majority of people will walk the streets in major cities without anything happening to them. You know, obviously, when bad things happen, that gets into the news and that makes everyone a bit concerned. But the vast majority of people who walk the streets in major cities will never have been mugged or assaulted or what have you.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. So I don't think we have any further questions. So we would start the presentation and talk about different routes within policing. Okay. So we have two major routes for frontline policing. One is called Police Constable Degree Apprenticeship route, and other one is called Degree Holder Entry Program, which also covers Detective Constable route. Next slide, please. Okay, so what is the eligibility for this? For the Police Constable Degree Apprenticeship Program, you need to have GCSE grade 4 and above in English and maths. So if you don't have any maths, you don't worry about it. We will help you to get the maths level, what is required for the post. And also you need to have 64 UCAS points. That 64 UCAS points can be achieved by 2 A levels at grade C, and any internship you have done or work experience you have got can give you 64 UCAS points. You can always go onto UCAS points tariff calculator and check whether you have got 64 UCAS points, which also includes if you can become a special constable and you have passed and achieved your independent patrol status, or you have become a community support officer and passed your probation, will also be counting towards Police Constable Degree Apprenticeship Program. So now we will talk about Degree Holder Entry Program. For Degree Holder Entry Program, as it's specified, you will need a degree in any discipline, okay, which is a UK recognized level 6 degree. And you also would need GCSE grade C and above in English. That is the requirement for Degree Holder Entry Program. So next slide, please. So let's talk about two pathways. So both the pathways would start with the induction, okay? So let's focus on Police Constable Degree Apprenticeship Program, which is a 3 years program. which is open to non-degree holders. And it is delivered in partnership with London universities. We have partnered with 4 London universities. We'll talk about it a little bit later. And you would be getting a degree in professional policing practice, which is a bachelor's degree, recognized bachelor's degree, BSc degree in professional policing practice. And the starting salary for this route is 29,000, almost 30K, I can say. So once you have been accepted on this program and you start your training, you would also be paid a salary on the monthly basis. So yearly salary would be around 30K. Your tuition fee would be paid by Met. So you don't need to worry about the tuition fee. Met would be paying your tuition fee. Okay. So when you have got your degree at the end of the 3rd year, you would be having no student loan. So there would be no student loan on you. And you would be also having a qualification, which is UK recognized. Okay. So that's the beauty of this program. And you would be starting, and you would be have earned money when you are doing your training, basically. And you, for this program, you'll be starting an induction at Met, then would followed by 16 weeks of initial police learning, wherein you will be studying a basic policing principles and basic laws and the procedures. That would be your theoretical study. Once you have done your theoretical study, you would go on for 8 weeks, go on to your respective police stations and do 8 weeks of street duties, wherein you will be going out with experienced police officers, and they will train you how to ask questions, when you're interrogating someone, how to arrest people, how to do stop and search, so on and so forth. And then once you have done your 8 weeks of street duty, you will earn independent patrol status. That your aim after earning independent patrol status should be at the end of the 1st year. Once you have done your 1st year, you would be going back to your university to do small blocks of learning, okay? And you would be having practical experience at your respected police station, okay? And learning more about the job. That is all, that would be going on for 2nd year. On the 3rd year, to get your degree, you need to submit a research project on practical policing problems, specific and in your specific areas of your interest, okay? Once you submit your research project, you would be then, and you pass in your research project, you would be awarded a degree in BSc policing and BSc in policing practice. So that is the part of apprenticeship, police constable apprenticeship. Now I will be talking about degree holder entry program, which is open to the degree holders who already have a degree and want to join policing, which also covers police detective constable route. Okay, so this is a 2 years program. It includes detective pathways, which I explained you, and it's the same. It's in partnership with London University. We'll be working towards graduate diploma in professional policing practice. And this, as you have already got the degree, the starting salary for this package will be around 30. So you would be starting with the induction at the Met at the same as the apprenticeship program, and then you will follow with 16 weeks of initial police learning at the respected universities, and then you would be going to your police station and starting your 8 weeks of street duty. And your aim is to become an independent patrol, to have independent patrol status at the end of the 1st year. In the 2nd year, it would be you would be going for small blocks of learning to a respected university throughout the year, but you would be learning on the side, on the job, with the experienced police officers working into different areas and getting knowledge there. And at the end of the 2nd year, you would be awarded graduate diploma in professional policing practice. That now the journey does not end here. The beauty of this program is journey starts from here. So once you have become a qualified police officer, your option is now open. So you decide to go into any specialist unit. You can go into any specialist unit. if the availability is there, okay, like mount branching, fraud, territorial support. And if you decide, okay, I don't want to go into any specialist unit, I want to go up the rank. I want to become a sergeant, I want to become an inspector, and so on and so forth. Yes, you can become an inspector, you can become a sergeant by giving exams, okay? And then you decide, okay, I don't want to become an inspector, I don't want to become a sergeant, I want to stay where you are. Yeah, you can stay where you are as a police constable and work into different units. So that's the beauty of the whole program, that it gives you options to do different things into the job. And you would be constantly updating your knowledge, updating your skills through continuous learning. Next slide, please. So now the question is where you would be studying. So we have tied up with 4 London University, which is University of West London, Brunel University, University of East London, and Anglia Ruskins. Okay, so if you go directly to the universities, you cannot apply to become a police officer, yeah? You have to apply through our website. So if you go and approach university directly, you cannot approach the university directly. You have to go through police website and fill in the application form, and then you will be allocated a place there. Okay, so choice of the university depends upon where you are living, where you want to work, and what is the availability in the university. Okay, that is the options. And we try and give you the first choice of your university. But if the first choice is not available, we'll try and give you second or third choice. Next slide, please. So what would you be learning as a new recruit? So you would be learning as coach patrol alongside the experienced police officer, emergency response or neighborhood policing. And on the study-based elements, you will be learning crime investigation, intelligence management, community policing, safeguarding, and evidence-based policing. So this is what you would be learning, and more, I could say. This is just a gist of what you would be learning. Next slide, please. So what is the support available? So you would be having academic personal tutors, coaches, operational police recruits. You would be learning alongside the experienced police officers. You have protected learning time when you are doing the job. You would be having a couple of hours a week that you would be learning only, and a couple of hours a week you would be doing your job. And then any further support you need would be given to you. Next slide, please. So next slide, please. Sorry, this is done. So what you would be assessed on? You would be assessed on operational assessments. How do you do your jobs? Like, how do you provide effective initial response to a critical incident? Or how do you engage with your community? How do you conduct effective evaluation of intelligence? And on the academic, you would be assessed on presentations, report, and critical reviews. Next slide, please. So now here is the application form. So once you go onto the Met Police website, /PC pathways, you would be seeing the option of police constable and police staff. So if you want to go into the frontline policing, you have to press police constable, and they will give you the detailed information. And once the information you have read, you would be put onto the application form. So my advice would be on the application form, read the application form properly. Okay, there are questions in the application form wherein they are not asking you whether you have done it or not. They're asking you the permission. Like the question is whether can we do the check on the financial status? Okay, they are asking you the consent. So they need to know whether when you're getting this job, are you under any financial pressure and you come into any financial pressure when you're doing a job because you have a financial issue. You don't want that to happen. Then we would be asking you consents like, are you willing to do a drug test? Yeah, your answer to that question should be yes, because we are asking you consent because we are going to do a drug test later in the application, in the recruitment process. So we are asking you to consent. So my advice would be read the application form properly and understand the questions. If you don't read the application form and you fill it up and your application is rejected, you have to wait for 3 months. So it would be added time on your on the process, okay? Next slide, please. So let's talk about the recruitment process. The recruitment process is divided into 2 days. One is called day 1, wherein and due to COVID, we have started doing day 1 online, basically. So that would be done online. So on the day 1 assessments, what you would be doing, you would be doing a written test to see what is the level of your English. You would be doing face-to-face interview. You would be doing behavioral judgmental test, okay? Once you have passed your day 1, you would be, and you got the results and you have passed, you will be invited for your day 2 within 15 to 20 days, depending upon the availability of the day 2. Day 2 is also known as health assessment, wherein you will be talking up to the nurse about overall well-being and how are you feeling overall. Then the nurse would be doing your hearing test, your eye test, okay? Once you have done your hearing and eye test, you would be doing a substance misuse test. That is why we are asking you the permission, because here you will be doing your substance misuse test to check whether you are using any restricted substance, and you also will be doing DNA and fingerprinting test. So once you have done that, then you would be also doing your bleep test, which is a 5.4 bleep test, and which is not very hard. It is just running between the 2 bleeps. And then, and if you have any pre-existing condition, a nurse would be discussing the effect of your condition on your job and then make the decision. Once you have passed your day 2 assessment, then you would be asked to fill in your vetting form. So I would be advising you to fill in the vetting form, and very carefully. In the vetting form, we would not only be asking about yourself, about people living in your address, your siblings, your parents, their address, any Facebook, any social media accounts you have, we'll be asking about them also. So, and the addresses, they would look into any addresses up to 5 years. So you need to have, if you change your address frequently, you need to have all your dates handy. And once you have done your written test, your vetting, you have submitted your vetting form, and you have passed your vetting, you would be given the start date, and your onboarding and training would start from there. And then there would be a passing out parade. So roughly the time frame roughly from the application form to getting the start date is around 6 to 8 months, depending upon the vetting, basically. So the vetting is the longest, vetting can take anything from 6 weeks to 26 weeks. So that's the realistic time frame. Next slide, please. So the key pointer is to be honest. If you are in any doubt, just disclose it. How minor it is, we'll anyways find it out, but it is better you disclose it. Check your social media feeds for inappropriate content. Take time and read the application form very carefully, as I've advised you before. And before completing the application form, have all your details handy, so it is easy to fill up the application form. Next slide, please. So what are the other benefits? So you would be getting 22 days of annual paid leave, raising up to 30 days, depending upon the length of the service. You will be getting a free travel around London, okay? And you will be also getting pensions. You will be getting personal support and sports and media. Next slide, please. Okay, then there are other careers in Met. If you don't want to become a frontline officer, you can become a volunteer, and you still want to join the policing, you can also become a voluntary police officer. You can also become a police support volunteer, which is a staff role, and full-time staff roles. Next slide, please. So voluntary police officer it has the same power as a regular police officer, which also have 20 days of non-residential training. Okay, which includes the training can be taken over 12 weekends or 20 consecutive days. Then you would be also assessed on knowledge examination, practical assessment, and written assessment. And then there would be ongoing training and support on your respected police station. So beauty of this voluntary police officer role is that you can do 16 hours a month of your choice. So you pick up your hours and you become a voluntary police officer. We don't tell you what hours you do. You pick up your hours, and you also get free travel around London. Next slide, please. So there's something called staff roles, which is a back office role. So they are a strong team of professionals who support the frontline office to do their roles, basically. So we have roles from accountancy to administration, finance to forensic, HR to IT, and occupational health to operational support, and everything in between. So if you're interested in any other role, any roles apart from the frontline roles, you can go onto the police website and you can go onto the careers and see the staff roles there. Every week it has been updated. Okay, next slide, please. So do you have any other questions? Verbal test is done when you don't have maths, basically. So then you would be asked to do the verbal test, basically, and to see your level. Any other questions? Jack, I think there's no other questions. So thank you for attending this webinar. And if you have any further questions, you can get in touch with Jack or Zorina, or you can contact me on my email address and my mobile number. Okay, and I'm ready to help you.
Lovely. Thank you very much for that, Purvi. We haven't got any more questions coming in, and I think we've overrun a bit, so we'll leave it there if that's going to be okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Lovely. Thank you everyone for attending our apprenticeships event today, and thank you, Purvi, for coming in and conducting this really valuable talk. I hope everyone's taken something from today.
Yeah. Thanks, Purvi. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mark, for attending.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Hope you all have great afternoons, guys. Thanks again.
Take care.
Thank you. Jack, can you stay online?
I'll just end the meeting, Purvi, and then I'll get Sophie to set up a call.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you.